What if I told you what airlines don't actually make most of their money from flying planes? They make it from selling miles and points. So it's not a surprise what current award travel search tools like AwardTool, ExpertFlyer, Seats.Aero, PointsYeah, and Points.me aren't as simple as they seem. There's a fundamental flaw in how these tools work, and once you understand why, the complicated process of booking award flights will start to make a lot more sense. Hi friends, welcome to Award Nerd. My name is Dennis, and I've been deep in the miles and points game since 2010. Back then, you could fly first class to Asia for just 120,000 airplane miles round trip, and Lufthansa and Swiss first class awards were easy to find. For the last 10 years, I've also been running Award Planners, an award travel booking service where I helped hundreds of clients book thousands of business and first class airline tickets using miles. On this channel, we take a more technical look into airline and bank loyalty programs, uncover the hidden mechanics behind award availability, and explore how AI might change everything in the future. If that sounds interesting to you, let's get started. Let's begin with a brief history lesson. In the early 1980s, airline loyalty programs were fairly simple, like the punch card at a cafe where your 11th coffee is free. But three big changes transformed them into the systems we know today. First, in 1987, American Airlines partnered with Citibank to offer the co-branded credit card, what offered points redeemable for flights on the airline. Second, in 1990s, the airlines started implementing dynamic pricing. With more complicated fare structures came the third change. Virgin America realized what the amount people spend on a flight based on the fare class is more important to its profit than the number of miles flown. Today, airlines operate more like banks than transportation companies. They create miles from thin air and sell them to banks for billions. In turn, banks reward you with those miles whenever you use their credit cards and collect transaction fees in the process. For airlines, selling points is better than selling airline tickets because they only incur a cost when points are redeemed. And guess what? A huge percentage of points never even gets used. That's free money. Here's how massive this business really is. In 2020, United's Mileage Plus program was valued at about $22 billion, while United Airlines itself, just $10 billion. Delta's SkyMiles program valuation was about $26 billion, worth more than Delta, the airline. American's AAdvantage program, almost $26 billion valuation, while the entire American Airlines as a company only valued at about $6 billion. Yeah, their points program was worth more than the airline itself. At this point, airlines aren't really in the business of selling flights. They're in the business of selling points. Alright, so we've established what airlines are basically banks with a side hustle in flying airplanes. But what about all those award travel search tools? You know, the likes of AwardTool, ExpertFlyer, Seats.Aero, PointsYeah, Points.me. These platforms promise to make redemptions easier. But the truth, they are all fighting an uphill battle. And here's why. First, let's talk about APIs, because if there were a simple API for award availability, this entire conversation wouldn't exist. For revenue tickets, airlines use something called a Global Distribution System, or GDS, and also NDC to sell flights and provide flight availability to partners. Backends would power sites like Expedia and Google Flights. But here's the catch. Airlines don't publish award availability into GDS, or they mask it there completely. So, if you pull up a Lufthansa flight as an example in a GDS like WorldSpan, which used to be my primary GTS for booking revenue flights, you will see first class, business class, and economy fare buckets. But the key award fare codes, like O class, I class, X class, nowhere to be found. The same thing is with Amadeus and Sabre, the other big global distribution systems. So, if there's no magical API, how do award search tools get their data? They scrape. Scraping gets a bad reputation, but here's the thing, scraping isn't illegal. It's just heavily frowned upon by airlines. Most award search tools have an army of scrapers, crawlers, parsers, and schedulers running 24/7 trying to extract data from airline websites. From my research, the state of the art at the moment is GraphQL database to store and serve this to clients. But no matter how good the tech is, there's one major problem. Availability isn't real time. Because scraping takes time, the data is often delayed, incomplete, and riddled with gaps, especially when a scraper breaks down and loses access to an airline website, which means by the time you see an award seat, it might already be gone. It's like trying to book a concert ticket based on yesterday's inventory. Now, I've been in the space for a while. I started my travel agent career back in 2009, so I've seen the evolution of award travel tools over the years. The first major award search tool was KVS tool. This thing was and still a throwback to the early 2000s. You had to install it, activate the key, and manually add account numbers and passwords. It was basically a stripped-down browser tailored to show award availability. No fancy UI, just raw data. Airlines hated it, but it survived over the years because the dude behind it was selling not a scraping tool, but a customized browser, and the total number of users wasn't that high. I personally used KVS tool until 2021 because despite looking funky, it worked. But let's be honest, it had a huge learning curve and would constantly need an update when airlines would change something on their website and the method would go down. Then there was ExpertFlyer. It used to show some award availability and was fairly popular among flyer talk crowd because it had better UI, but over time it lost most of its access to award availability. It was never great for searching complicated redemptions, but I still used it mostly for seat alerts. Now, it's barely hanging on. The Points guy bought it a few years ago, and it feels like it's been on life support ever since. Newer startups have better UIs, have better funding, and in general, it feels like they are much better run businesses and have better engineering teams. For example, Romy is a part of Y Combinator batch of summer 2023 and raised $500K in seed money from various investors. But it's still a cat and a mouse game. Airlines constantly change websites and block scraping, parsers break and stop working, airline lawyers send cease and desist letters, dynamic award pricing adds even more complexity into the mix. So, the bottom line, no current award search tool is perfect, and they probably never will be unless some kind of regulation is enacted or some other fundamental change is going to happen. The minute a tool gets too effective, airlines will protect their cash cow. So, after all of this, what is the fundamental flaw with award travel search tools? They are trying to solve a problem what airlines don't want to be solved. Airlines control the whole ecosystem. They technically own miles. According to most airline policies, airline miles do not legally belong to you. They are considered a benefit provided by the airline, not your personal property, meaning you don't have full ownership and may not be able to transfer them freely. Even upon death, they decide how many seats to release, hide inventory from GDS, and shift rules whenever it benefits them. They make money when you struggle to redeem miles. not when you use them easily. That's why no award search tool in its current form will ever be perfect. Unless there's some kind of government intervention or legislation, the status quo will persist. In fact, there was an attempt to address this recently. In September 2024, US Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg ordered 4 major US airlines to file reports on their frequent flyer programs. The Department of Transportation was seeking to identify potential competition or consumer protection issues within these programs. Airlines were required to furnish all documents related to the valuation of frequent flyer miles, dynamic pricing strategies, fees imposed on rewards, and policy changes that might restrict customers' redemption options. However, with the current Trump administration back in power, I don't expect any real action to come from this. Airlines have strong lobbying power, and historically, regulatory efforts to improve transparency in loyalty programs have faced resistance. So for now, the system remains stacked against consumers, and airlines will continue to dictate the rules of the game. I am personally more excited about the prospects of AI in this space, and I think it will bring improvements to this industry much faster than any legislation. We are rapidly entering the era of intelligent AI agents. These are autonomous AIs what are trained to use tools as a part of their chain of thought reasoning, just like humans might use software to help them reason over broad problems. Early examples like Operator and deep research from OpenAI or computer use from Anthropic provide a glimpse of what's coming. So I hope you found this video interesting. If you have a complicated trip for which you want to use your miles and points but having troubles finding award space or simply don't have time for this, feel free to use my award travel booking service. I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.